let's talk food. And the International Rescue Committee estimates that about 16% of Nigerians will be not food insecure, but severely food insecure by June. June starts tomorrow. And of course, we're still in the mood of celebrating or remembering that it's 1 year into the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Of course, he is declared a state of emergency on food insecurity. But let's talk to someone who has first hand in the sector, find out if anything has changed. Are we able to avert that status of severe food insecurity for 16% of Nigerians by June 2024? We speak to the Managing Director of Banjoko Motunde Farms, Mr. Tunde Banjoko. Mr. Banjoko, thank you so much and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Amy. Thank you for having me.
Great. So in the last 1 year, you've been a farmer before this last 1 year. Could you compare your experience, this last 1 year and previously, share with us the ups and downs, the good and the ugly?
Okay, thank you, Amy, once again. Like you rightly said, I've been a farmer before 2023, and I'm still a farmer. So if I'm to be very objective, I would say nothing really has changed from where I sit and from what I see. Nothing has changed. To me, frankly, it's still like business as usual. Going by the data you said just now, as at this time last year, we were told 25 million Nigerians will be going through food issues between the lean season. And this year now, we are talking of 32 million Nigerians going through that. So that's a jump in that number. So it's as if we have continued the existing trend that the government met while they came into the office. Another thing we could also look at, as at this time last year, our food inflation was 23%, 23.6%. This year, we are talking of, at this time, exactly 1 year after, we are talking of 40.5% thereabout. So meaning our inflation figure too for food has gone up. So to me, it's like the trend is continuing from where the government met it last year. So I can't really say nothing has changed. And if you look at even using, if there's no yardstick, if there's no goalpost, there's nothing for us to measure. I will use what the government gave as the yardstick when they came into the office last year. I think sometimes in July 2023, the government came and declared about 11-point agenda declaring a state of emergency on food. I thought when I hear state of emergency, I'm talking of something where everybody will be focusing on how to change that situation immediately. But what I've seen in the last 1 year has not really matched up to that expectation. So I would say in the last 1 year, I only see a continuation of the trend. I see a bit of nonchalant attitude towards securing the nation in terms of food. Maybe I should stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, if we go by the words, and you did, of course, mention that issue of the state of emergency declaration, it sounds like the president actually wants something to change. We've heard a lot of the grains reserve being shared and things like that. Where do you think perhaps we are missing the point? Why we're not getting the results we would love to see?
Okay, I would say we are missing them in two major areas. One is the execution. On two different occasions now, grain has been ordered to be released from the grain reserve to farmers and households that need this food. Can we really ascertain how many farmers got this thing? Or it was distributed as a political palliative to political allies in some community, not to solve the hunger issues. I was talking to a farmer in Osun State yesterday, and he was telling me some of the grains that was meant to be shared were sold to farmers. at a subsidized rate though, but because people who got it just got it based on maybe government influence, they are selling it at subsidized rates. So it was not given, I'm using just an example. We've seen also on social media and in some states that had to interact with the farmers that what they got is far. If you are given maybe 1, 2, 3 kg to a farmer to plant or to substitute what they use in feeding their beds, that's making no difference. And that is why we have not seen any major difference in foods or prices in Nigeria in the last 1 year. Rather than the price of food coming down, it's been going up. So I think in the area of execution, we have politicized it too much. Probably the private sector should be involved in the distribution, because I always talk about it's not enough to have good ideas. The execution of these ideas makes all the difference. We should get more private sector involvement where these things are well monitored, that as the grains are being released, they are getting to the farmers and to the household that needs them, not probably getting into some hands that will probably just go and resell. Because that's not the intention of the government. So we should be talking about how are these policies being executed. I think that's where we are missing it. And then I will also say, well, in times like this, we should probably be more concerned about the situation rather than compensating people with positions. Food is too sensitive a matter for us to be compensating people with positions, and then we are not allocating enough funds to the sector to buttress the urgency of the situation we have found ourselves. I think to be careful with words, it's really a messy situation that we have found ourselves in the last 1 year, going by what we see. I watched you earlier on today, and I saw the vivid prices in the market because some government agency thought probably the farmers or the market, remember, the one trying to play pranks on Nigeria. But the issues are still about the same, and I've not seen too much, action, political will changing those narratives. So like you rightly asked, I think we should watch the way we execute this project and the people we are appointing to execute them. That's where I think I'm missing them.
Yeah, well, you know what you just said reminds me of a conversation I had with the CEO of Business Day a couple of days ago, and he actually does not have any good marks or words for the Minister of Agriculture. Sounds like you are following the same path. But now you're talking about, introducing the private sector into the distribution, and we know that, private sector, public sector, we're dealing with Nigerians here, who could have some not so good intentions and divert some of these things and even sell them as you have suggested.
One thing is, it's easier to hold a private sector accountable if it's been publicized that this firm has been engaged to go about this distribution. It's easier, the government can take them to court. If there is a petition against such a company, they can be blacklisted if petition is written against them. So those are some of the issues. So it's easier, but it's not easy to probably write a petition against a government agency or a government appointee. So, but it's easier when the government is leveraging people whose expertise is in the area of logistics and distribution. I think on this program, we've talked about, the value chain, the distribution on some occasions. So it's not about even production or making it available, but we're talking about how is it getting to the people that need them. This is where the issue is. We have something very small to give. The very small is not getting to those who need it. And that's why we are still where we are, why the numbers, rather than coming down, are still going up. And, like I was reading some document earlier on today, and if care is not taken, if no drastic step is taken within the next few weeks, the numbers will be going up. And then I fear for, I still struggle as at this afternoon, how people earning minimum wage are surviving in Nigeria and why the crime rate is going up. So the government needs to pay serious attention and approach this situation really as an emergency. So I think the private sector is easy to deal with. You can owe them responsibility, you can take them to court, you can charge them. So they are easy to deal with. Yeah,
Mr. Matunde, some people have said 1 year is too soon to judge this government. Perhaps, as you said, seems like things are not changing when it comes to food security and agriculture. Perhaps they are working on the ground. Do you expect that by this time next year we would have good tales?
No, this is what I would say. If you permit me, there's an adage in the Yoruba land that says, you know how Sunday will be from Friday, you understand. And it also says, you know how a child will be, if a child will be smart, even from his childhood. There's something about body language. It is the body language you see today that gives you an idea of how the next 1 year will be. I was reading the Minister of Agriculture's report for the last 9 months, 8 months, I think 9 months that they've been in the office. And I looked at the report and most of the report seems to be ambiguous. Meetings with this, meetings with that. And I asked on where I saw the report that, can anybody testify if they benefited from any of this program or directly benefited from all these numbers? And I'm yet to see anyone coming out to say, truly, these numbers can be verified. I also realized some of the so-called interventions are concentrated in some particular region of the country, which is also not good. So I think the body language, and you also, I tell people, let's leave the federal government alone. Let's look at what the states are doing in agriculture. If I'm to look at the 36 state governors we have in Nigeria, probably I'll pick just 1 or 2 that I probably think things will change in terms. I could only pick 2 or 3 at most that I could probably say their state might make some difference in the next 1 or 2 years. Because we have to see the body language, we have to see the steps you are taking, we have to see the interventions, we have to see the collaborations. And, I will also look at, last year the president gave about 11 points. So to know if anything will change, out of the 11 points, we should have seen you prioritizing maybe 2, 3, 4 in the first 1 year. That gives us the bedrock of whether things will change. If I'm to pick any one of those 11 points, maybe I would have said number 1 should have been the commodity board, for example. Has the commodity board been set to start helping in strategizing the price of food and our strategic reserve, and making the price of food to be flat all through the year. So is there any conversation going on in that direction? Of course, on this program, we've talked severally about the Bank of Agri. Are they recapitalizing that bank? That should not take 4 years. So we should see the government of the nation should have prioritized some of these key issues in the first 1 year. That would have formed the bedrock for us to have confidence. What we need now is confidence to be able to produce and participate in the industry. A friend of mine who was chatting, I think yesterday, and he was saying, who advertises oil and gas as a as an empowerment program? Nobody, because people see the industry as being lucrative, attractive. They are putting in their funds. But are people, investors, are they seeing agri as a lucrative and attractive industry to put their funds whereby, we can do what we need to do, and the sector will be attractive to attract the kind of funds that it should attract? That's when we start making any major difference and seeing edu in the nation. So I think language and all that is not there yet.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Matunde. We hope the story will be different by this time next year. Managing Director, Omotunde Farms Limited, thank you for your views.
Thank you.